Well, good day, everyone, and thank you for joining the Rock Apartment Transaction webinar. We've got an exciting session for you today, and the topic today is the growing need for student housing across Canada. And it's a timely topic. We are holding a new apartment construction symposium on May 7th and 8th, and the first day on the 7th is a full-day session on student housing. We ran our first symposium on the topic last year. We had over 70 people there, and we think this year's number is going to be much larger than that. The second day is a topic dedicated solely to new apartment construction, and both our guests on today are going to be at those seminars. So if you want to register online, you can go to the ROC webpage and then follow the directions there to register for the seminar. So here are your three speakers for today. You're Derek Lobo, your host. Mark, how are you, man?
Well, I'm doing great. How are you, Derek?
Good. That I am terrific. That's a fine-looking picture there. And Mark, you are in Dallas, Texas. Are you there today?
Yes.
You're in head office?
Yes. I'm in Dallas till another 2 hours.
Another 2 hours. Okay. Are you flying somewhere?
Yes.
By yourself?
Yes. No. In the bigger plane, but to Nashville and then to Denver. So.
Okay, great. Okay, well, Mark, thanks again for joining us. Mark has been on this webinar a few times, and he will be here to speak. So you're going to get a little bit of a preview as to what he's going to talk about. We also have our good friend Paula Gasparro from CMHC. Paula is the manager of business development there. Good morning, Paula.
Hi there, Derek.
Thanks very much for joining us, Paula.
You're welcome.
Okay. So in terms of order, Mark, we're going to have you go first, right? You got lots of great ideas for student housing here. You're going to show, and then Paula will follow right afterwards, and then I'll come on and we'll talk about the transactions that have occurred last month. Those sessions should take somewhere between 45 and 50 minutes. So thanks again for joining us. And Mark, let's get started then. Okay?
Okay, great. Well, if we could pull up my slides.
Yep, they're up. Mark, they're up on the screen.
Right now, that's not what we're seeing.
No, we're not.
You're not seeing nothing?
We're just seeing the front, first slide.
There we go. Mark, you can see your screen now?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, things are going great in the student housing market, both in the U.S. and in Canada. We are seeing a tremendous growth in both areas, and so that's all good. And just a little overview on our company. We're an architecture firm, and we're the largest multifamily architecture firm in the United States. We have over 20,000 units under construction from our company. Last year, around 28,000, and then we did about 30 student housing, to be exact, 32 student housing projects went into permit last year in the U.S., which would have been over 7,000 beds.
Mark, have you ever had this much work on your books before?
No.
So is this indicative of what's going on in the U.S. in terms of new apartment construction, or is it just the growth of your firm?
No, this is indicative totally of the growth in permits for apartments, purpose-built apartments in Canada. They're growing in both countries at a rapid rate.
Right.
And the U.S. economy, of course, is turning around. And your population in Canada, I have a Toronto office, so I'm part of your now.
Welcome.
Is echoing the U.S. as far as population. So there seems to be a growing student population in Canada as there very much is in the United States, although we're a little bit ahead of you. And in having that, I can kind of demonstrate in the next slide some of these numbers.
Okay, so Mark, you can see the page there. We've got the U.S. map up.
Yes, and this just gives you an overview of what we're seeing in the U.S. These are all contracts out from our architectural firm. These are not all going ahead projects, but all contracts out, about 500 architectural contracts. And if you notice on the right side, you can see the demand of what people are looking for purpose-built buildings. And of 500 proposals out, 100 of them were for student housing, which is a very large.
Yeah, that's very disproportionate to what the population would be. Yeah, very interesting. Okay, good. Let's keep going.
Yeah, and then if we look at Canada, and we have 8 U.S. offices, and ironically, we have a few Canadian clients here in the U.S., and it sounds like we're going to have a few American clients in Canada coming up because they're very interested in the market. But here's our current activity throughout Canada. And of course, we have a Toronto office, but you know, we have maybe 25 projects in one point or another in Canada, and still a pretty good number of student housing properties underway at some point, and there'd be 4. And then moving along, just getting back to student housing product. Next slide is what we have found for Humphreys Partners Architects. The reason why we opened a Canada office, being our 4th international office, is since our pure volume that we do in the U.S., our firm, there seems to be a lot of interest from our company on all types of products, purpose-built apartments, the amenities that go in purpose-built apartments and student housing, our knowledge of wood construction, which is gaining ground in Canada.
Yes.
Laws. But this is an overview of just some types of student housing, just all different types of density in the U.S., and then I can get in more depth and just jump through these slides coming up very quickly. We'll just kind of roll through these almost like a movie here. We're doing surface-built properties, and one type we're doing is called our E-Urban product, and it's relatively inexpensive because it's surface parked. And just moving right along, this E-Urban product has no corridors in it. It's all elevator lobbies, and to give you an idea, 10 are completed, 9 are under construction, 8 are in production, and 57 are in design because construction costs are going up. It's fairly economical. Now, this is obviously a suburban example of this, but very inexpensive to build, built 240 units, 770 beds in 12 months. And you can see in the next slide, and you're moving these along perfectly, Derek, it shows just lobby areas, and since this is only 3-story, in the pink, those are lobby areas, and a fire corridor protecting them. It has a nice courtyard, and that just works well. And these are a lot of
what's in the courtyard, Mark?
Oh, landscape area and so forth, and the pool area is outside of that. But this again is student housing, where it's 3 and 4 bedrooms, which is really the U.S. market. You do a little bit of 2s. You know why you have a 3-bedroom, Derek?
No, why?
Well, when they are freshmen, they usually are on campus, so they talk to their parents and say, well, you know, I can study better being off campus. So when they're a sophomore, they move into a 4-bedroom, and then there's always one roommate that they don't like. So the next semester they move into a 3-bedroom.
That's brilliant. I've never thought of it that way before.
So this is more of this type of product. A lot of it is suburban, which lowers your cost, which is fine. And I'm going to talk a little bit about cost, and we can just keep moving here. But this is a higher density version of the urban, so that you can get 102 beds per acre, and then even a higher density. This is 118 units. These are all at major universities in the U.S. This is actually at North Texas, and then we're going to go up the density scale. But I mentioned cost. If you take a look at this one in Riverside, California, that doesn't look like a student property, or this one in coming up is in San Diego. These look like resorts, and people go, well, you know, these students, and I feel, I've told you this before, Derek, that we are about 10 or 12 years ahead, I think, on student market rate properties in the U.S., because we went through what is starting to happen in Canada. And people say, well, these students can't afford very much. Well, guess what? They can't afford anything. It's not their money.
It's their parents' money, yeah.
It's their parents' money. So when little Jessica, one of my daughters, comes to me and goes, Daddy, this is where Jill is living, and I go, well, how much more is it going to cost? She goes, well, it's $150 more a month. So you just go from $750, Mr. Developer, a bed, to $900 because you've got the hot new student housing property off campus. And
right.
$150 to me is nothing for my daughter that I'm already spending a fortune for going to college.
Right. So Mark, you mentioned that we're probably 10, 15 years behind, right, the U.S. in design. For sure, I agree with that. But it won't take us 10 or 15 years to catch up. All we've got to do is sort of, pull down the border and peek into the future here.
Well, and it's because we were slow to move, and you guys aren't. And I can show you as we go along here what happened. If you look at this property and you look at this glorious pool, that's like a pool in a hot hotel. And before we were doing little pools and we're doing stuff way away from campus and smaller density and not a lot of high density and not a lot of amenities. This property in Orlando was actually in Playboy magazine of all things about where all the students in the southeast United States live. What is the new standard? And it has a sports bar inside, theater seating, just a resort type pool. So what we have found, when I'm saying what I saw, and this is a standard type product here, but moving along, what I found looking at properties in Toronto and Montreal is that they have been doing similar to what we were that time ago, where it didn't have all the bells and whistles, because the thought process was the kids can't afford a lot.
Yeah, and also it's happening on a much smaller scale here than the U.S., even on a per capita basis. So we've got lots of opportunity here. Okay, let's keep going. College Station, the plaza here.
Yes, it's very much an urban development with retail at the base and shopping and so forth right across from campus.
Mark, is there any kind of retail that works particularly well in the student facility, or is it just general retail? Kinko's, Subways, that kind of thing?
Coffee shop,
yeah.
pizza place. Mm-hmm. When you start thinking that way, like you're talking about, it's exactly that way. And the people, I talked to a developer and I said, yeah, you got to put some retail in the base. Oh, no, I don't want any retail. I said, you have 45,000 students across the street. Don't you think that somebody's addicted to Starbucks across the street? Mm-hmm. And he said, well, we'll look into it. He's getting $35 a square foot for Starbucks. Oh.
Wow. Okay. Keep going.
Just an example, kind of an edgy-looking one. You can start to see the interiors here, Derek. This is not looking like your normal student property.
No, it's not.
Right. And what I'm starting to see is more players are coming into your market, the Canadian market. Here's an example right across from campus, University of Arizona, big-time retail at the base, all concrete and steel building, very high density. This property actually has a lazy river in it, which is like around the pool that they can go in inner tubes on.
You can see that on the top left-hand corner there. Interesting, right? Okay.
These are stacked townhomes at about a 40,000 unit student college, and University of Kentucky. Again, these don't look like student properties. They are, and they don't act like them at all. Another one with a very exciting pool feature, again in Tucson, and again, you can just see the variety and the amount going on. And what I'm feeling, I think you've been seeing it too, Derek, is people are seeing that there is a huge opportunity all across Canada for doing luxury student housing. How about a rooftop patio and pool area?
That's right. Is this one built or is this in the planning stages?
This is under construction.
It's under construction. Beautiful. Paula, what do you think? You'd like to finance this?
What's that?
I think we're.
I was asking Paula if she'd like to finance this.
Looks good.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll put a skating rink up there instead of a pool. Okay, keep going.
We are doing that on a property in Minneapolis. We have a skating rink and then convert it to a wading pool in the summer. But and again, Eugene, Oregon, again, very high density urban stuff. This would fit in downtown or areas of Toronto. And the next one, we're going to start getting into amenities, and I'll start wrapping up. I mean, you look at the amenities in this property in Orlando. You know, they've got gaming areas. They have, and the interiors are done well. You know, it's very edgy, very hotel looking. And then
so, Mark, would you almost call this this would be like a condo spec with just a little more chic?
Yes, condo spec, but heavy on the amenities. We're talking about maybe 14,000 square foot community area.
For how many beds? For about 1,000 beds.
Yeah, about 1,000.
On this one, yeah. Okay, so 14,000 square feet for 1,000 beds. Okay, all right. Yeah. Okay, good, great.
Let's see. And again, you can see the small bar area, billiards area. I don't remember having much of that when I was in college. And again, these pool areas are very exciting. They like outdoor space, and I know climate's a situation in a lot of areas, but you know, we do pools on all of our properties outside in Minneapolis, for example, and rooftop pools. And of course, the best view in Toronto is at the Hudson by the pool on the roof.
So wait a minute. So if you were building an apartment, a student facility in Toronto, you would recommend putting a pool in?
Yes, I would.
And our weather isn't that different than Minneapolis. It's probably warmer in Minneapolis.
Yes, and I can get you empirical data from Minneapolis because we did an indoor pool and we did an outdoor pool. And when it comes May, that pool is packed. Everybody's been dying to get outside.
Well, it's interesting. Okay, let's keep going. Well, bring that up at the seminar. Let's see how everyone reacts to that. Okay, putting in a pool. Okay, let's keep going here. So San Marcos, Texas, and then.
Yeah, and see all different styles. This is at a Catholic school, and you know, it's all very high end. It's looking very nice. This is one that, look at the interiors of this. He's got faux stainless steel even. We're pretty much not doing any more wood floors. We're all using wood vinyl. Vinyl.
Mark, comment on, you know, we're pretty much convinced up here that it's a, you know, it's a 3, 4, 5 bedroom, you know, unit here. Here you've got 1 bedroom units in a building.
Yes,
that's a conventional apartment.
Yes, we typically believe in this. The freshman or sophomore is going to be in a 4-bedroom. Junior is going to be in a 3-bedroom. Junior to senior is going to be actually in maybe in a 2 or 1, and because it gets to some point where they're doing graduate studies or they're a senior, and you know, parents been paying for them long enough, and that little one says, look, I'm tired of having a roommate because she's got a bad boyfriend or comes in late or whatever. I'm just wanting to finish, Dad. Can I be in a 1-bedroom?
So 1-bedrooms do work in purpose-built student housing. It's not just a 4-bedroom or 3-bedroom model. Okay, great. Okay, so we're getting out of some higher density stuff, and you know, Mark, most of our universities tend to be in urban areas, so this is a lot more what you're going to see in Toronto, Halifax, Montreal, Edmonton.
Right. This is properties underway in the University of Michigan right now. Very big deal, very edgy looking, 14-story. And then we have a few others that we'll show you, and this is a new one we're going to start in Seattle. This is in downtown. And a lot of mid-rise and high-rise going on because they just want to be closer to campus and willing to pay.
And Mark, any comment on the amount of parking you need in these urban locations?
Well, it depends on the, it very much depends on the location. It just really does depend on the location.
Can you build it without parking if the municipality will allow you?
Yes, I wouldn't recommend without any parking, but if you have, if you're in a Toronto situation, you could probably get away with that.
Okay, good. This next one here looks like a big one, 25 stories.
Yeah, this is in University of Minnesota. We do a lot of work in Minneapolis, and Now we're going to start moving into amenities, and I'll just wrap up. Let me just read off from these real quick. Back up. We try to be less than a mile from campus. Pool, cabana-style lounges, full-side club room, billiards and foosball, internet bar, Mac and PC stations, high-tech gaming lounge with multi-TV screen wall. In other words, they can turn 8 screens onto one thing, or they can turn them onto 8 things. It just goes on and on. Barbecue pits. All
it really does.
Next. Okay, this is a property. I spoke on this a while back when I was in Toronto. We didn't do this one, and no offense to this. This is probably making a lot of money, but here's an example of a property in the Toronto market for students. It's got 3 bedrooms, all facing outside. There's no living area. There's a little place to eat and a little kitchen and 1 bathroom. And
yeah, this is not the finest architectural moment in Toronto, Mark. No.
Oh, I know that. But this is a student property, and it's 763, and it's targeted to University of Toronto. And then we'll show you what we're suggesting and what we're seeing in a lot of the markets, and just giving some free advice. After years of study by all of our clientele here, a bed-to-bath parity is the best income stream.
So 4 bedroom, 4 bath, 3 bedroom, 3 bath, 2 bedroom, 2 bath.
That's correct. Because here's the deal. They will lock themselves off in their room, and they've got their bathroom and closet, and they've got a keyless thing to get into their bedroom, and they've got their privacy, and they don't have to mess with their roommates if they don't want to. And if they do, they come out and look at this great, kitchen area and living room area and all this going on. They've got washer and dryers. Look at the amenities they have downstairs so that it's bigger and so forth. And we don't do dining rooms in the floor plans anymore because they don't dine like that. And look at these workout areas and biking areas, every bit as much as the nicest condo you would see. So the pools are a big deal. And just a couple of more amenity shots. The biggest surprise in the U.S. market is that the purpose-built apartment developers were surprised at how high the amenity level was for students, and so they're not so impressed when they get out of school at the properties at market rate. But rooftop pool areas, so that's just it. And the advice I'm trying to say is I really think the Canadian market is a great market. It's a little new to the student housing market. It is probably one of the best opportunities in the real estate market in Canada, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, Mark, thanks again for joining us. We look forward to seeing you up here on May 7th and 8th at the Student Housing Symposium, the New Apartment Construction Symposium. Thanks again, Mark. You can stick around. Paula, let's talk about how we can finance these things now. So we've got Paula Gasparro of CMHC.
Great. So CMHC is very pleased to offer insured financing options to facilitate the financing of purpose-built student housing, like some of the projects that Mark was just talking about. The need for student housing in Canada, like Mark explained, is on the rise and currently exceeds supply in many university and college cities throughout Canada. So this trend, like Mark said, is going to continue. So 2 years ago, we did announce our program to finance student housing. Our agenda, what I'll cover is the features, eligibility, and loan characteristics. Looking at the features, CMHC's multi-unit student housing, we will finance loans up to a maximum of 85% of the value for construction, purchase, or refinance of multi-unit projects specifically built for students. These are properties that support the housing needs of publicly funded educational institutions, such as universities or colleges, and they may be located on or off campus. CMHC's multi-unit student housing provides for the recognition of revenues per bedroom in determining the project's lending value and offers great flexibility when the publicly funded university or college is providing 100% covenant or 100% loan guarantee.
So if the university sort of head leases the property or gives the private developer some kind of a guarantee that he'll be full, you like that?
Yeah, provides the lender and CMHC the guarantee. Yes, that's our preference. With respect to the property guidelines, CMHC's multi-unit student housing is available for multi-unit purpose-built student housing, and I keep emphasizing purpose-built because it does have to be purpose-built. It's not intended to finance the single detached house conversions or basement apartments.
Got it.
So projects can be located off campus, but must be within walking distance from the campus. And Mark did explain that when he's building, he wants the projects very close to campus. So we like to hear that. Units should be self-contained, and I like to see a lot of the units that Mark was explaining. Atypical units, which we defined as having 4 or more bedrooms, or non-self-contained units or furnished suites, can be considered, but must be located on campus for us to insure them. A replacement reserve is required where the units are furnished suites. Looking at the property guidelines for new construction, a market demand study is required to support the long-term financing of new construction projects. The study may be provided by the borrower or a third party and should contain the key factors influencing demand, such as enrollment, projections for the next 5 years, target market profiles in terms of demographics, current housing and vacancy rates and rents, nearby amenities, and the master plan of the university or college and competition. A market study may be required for existing student housing projects where the cash flow is not stabilized. In all instances, demand for the student housing property must be confirmed and documented in this study.
Yeah, Paula, we're seeing, we do these feasibility studies for new apartment construction, apartment buildings, and student housing, and there's significant interest in student housing, over the years. Every year, we're seeing more and more people interested in this asset class.
Absolutely.
So borrower eligibility.
Absolutely, most of the reasons are, as Mark alluded to, we are a little bit behind the U.S. and there is a great opportunity here for student housing. So looking at the borrower eligibility, in terms of the borrower must have a minimum of 5 years experience in operating a similar type of project. If the borrower does not have that experience, they may enter into a long-term contract. We consider a long-term contract to be a minimum of 5 years with a third-party property management firm, and that firm has to have at least 5 years experience in operating this type of housing.
Because you recognize that this is not your average apartment building. There's some specialty skill sets you need to have here in terms of property management.
Absolutely. It's more like a business, like a retirement home, so it's very labor intensive. Absolutely.
Okay.
Can I add something?
Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
They have a saying down here, if you don't manage the students, they'll manage you.
Yes.
Absolutely. And they'll also manage your bottom line.
They will take over.
So the borrower or the third-party property manager must demonstrate that the adequate systems and controls are in place to manage leasing, rent collections, maintenance, vacancy, and bad debt. For new construction, an additional standard net worth requirement, the borrower must have the financial capacity to sustain 1 full year of operations, including debt servicing, assuming 100% vacant if the project is not ready for occupancy at the beginning of the school year. And we don't wait around that.
Yeah, so whenever we're doing the lease up of a student facility, we put a great big sign up in the back office saying there's only one September 1.
That's
and
right.
if you miss that, it's a long cold winter.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
I mean, there really is no plan B for a lot of these units the way they're designed.
No.
Okay, Paula.
So moving along to loan characteristics. Insured loans are available up to 85% of the lending value. For new construction, the maximum loan is a lesser of 85% of lending value or 100% of cost. However, during construction, the loan may be advanced up to the lesser of 75% of the value or the cost during construction, with the remainder of the loan to be advanced once the rental revenue has been stabilized.
Okay, got it. Good.
And stabilization period can be waived for quarter-point surcharge, and then we would release the remainder of the loan upon rent-up.
Okay, good. Got it. Good.
Looking at debt coverage ratios, so 1.3 for a term of 10 years or greater, and 1.4 for a term of 10 years or less. And the maximum amortization would be 25 years. Longer amortization periods may be considered if the applicable premium surcharge is paid and the educational institution provides 100% guarantee over and above the loan covenants. And looking at interest rates, they may be fixed, floating, and if they're floating, they have to have a ceiling rate established. Acceptable security types are first, a second, or pari passu mortgage. And there's also other flexibilities that may be granted if the property is energy efficient. So they may be eligible for premium refunds up to a maximum of 15%.
So that's the insurance that you pay for the mortgage. You could get 10% back if you're energy efficient?
15% is the new energy efficient rebate, and if they do build them to our criteria, yes, they are eligible.
Okay, great.
And looking at cash flow considerations, revenue will be assessed using rent per bedroom. However, CMHC will not recognize the portion of the rents that include a meal plan. And like Mark said, I don't think a lot of the new construction are doing the meal plan or the dining room option, so that's a good thing for us to hear. A 12-month lease is preferred, with a shorter lease period may be considered in our underwriting. Supplemental revenues for during summer months will not be recognized in the valuation of the project. And the lender is responsible to ensure the cash flow is adequate security through either prepaid leases, parental guarantees, leases signed on a joint and several basis by all students are things we consider.
Okay, great job, Paula. Thanks very much for joining us. I'm going to now show Mark's contact information there, and for everyone listening, you'll be emailed this webinar a day or two after you attend the webinar. And then Paula, again, thank you very much. Here's Paula's contact information. And just going to the last section now, and you guys might just want to stick around for this. There have been some interesting transactions that have occurred, in the Ontario marketplace in the last month. And every month we pick out, 10 or 12 transactions that sort of represent what's going on in the marketplace. We've got webinars scheduled now for the rest of the year. If you go to our ROC webpage, rocaptadvisors.ca, you'll be able to sign up for them now for the year, and then you'll automatically be notified of the sessions. Welcome to all the brokers who join us. If you're interested in co-brokering with us, we co-broker most of our deals. Please go to our webpage and have a look to see what we've got available for sale. The information we're going to present to you now comes from RealTrack. We thank them for this. So far, 2013 to date, and we're sort of in the middle to end of March now, we've had 90 sales have occurred, about 5,000 units, approaching $500 million. Paula, look at our average price per unit, $119,000. Do you remember when apartments just first hit $100,000? We thought the world had gone mad. And so really big prices. The biggest transaction in the last month, actually, Mark, was a student housing deal, and this is one that we participated in. It was a $56 million transaction in Waterloo, and we got highest price per unit. It's a relatively small building in Burlington at $174,000 per unit. You can see where the transactions are occurring this month. A little bit of a slower month, but 25 transactions in total. So I'm just going to walk through some sample transactions that reflect what's going on. So here's a little, Mark, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Go?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Mark, look at this. This is a sixplex in Burlington. You've been here. This is close to our office. $174,000 per unit.
Wow.
Just extraordinary.
Looks like they have some vacant land. Need to build some more.
But so what's happened is in these small buildings, you got investors not necessarily looking at yield. They just want to sort of park their money, in an asset class that everybody feels very comfortable with. Here's another building. This is in Toronto at $115,000 per unit. This is Paula, what's this, a 1960s vintage building, right?
Yeah, the typical.
Yeah, Toronto is dotted with buildings like this. Here's another one. Yes, Mark?
if you could just go back to that other slide, we have 3 or 4 projects, most of them in Toronto, and I wasn't kidding around about there seems to be extra land where we'd take that property right there and would build a bigger building in front of it.
Yeah. Mark, I don't know if in the 60s here we built what we call towers in the park, where there was just a lot of land left over, and now with land prices being as high as they are, interest rates being where they are, intensification makes more sense than ever before. And you know, if you're blessed to have that excess land, you can pencil these things out nicely. Sorry, Mark, keep going.
Yeah. And then you've got a free land basis.
Yes, exactly. And oftentimes these buildings have a lot of parking. The parking requirement was significant before when it was, you know, the far suburbs. It's now kind of the close suburbs, and so there's extra parking there already. So free land, free parking. There's already management on site and things like that. Here's again another building. You know, $130,000 per unit. We're going outside of Toronto now, looking at Guelph, $84,000 per unit. Here we are in Oshawa, you know, almost approaching $100,000 per unit. Here's a site in Scarborough, $88,000 per unit. Really significant prices. Some of these, you'll see this one here sold in 1997 for $3.6 million, just sold in March for $8 million. This is what most of our high-rise product looks like. This is in North York. This sold for $104,000, and this sold in 2010 for, holy smoke, for $5.3 million, and it just sold now for $11.3 million. So significant price increases are happening in our marketplace. Here's something again, you know, 1960s vintage building selling for $125,000 per unit. This is probably the lowest price transaction that we saw, and this was $56,000 per unit in Fort Erie. Here's a property in Kitchener, and you know it's not unusual now to see, you know, product outside of Toronto approaching that $100,000 range. Most transactions in Toronto today seem to be over the $100,000 range. So here was a student housing property, Mark, sold for $56 million, $104,000 per bed. Luxury, high-rise, highly amenitized building in Waterloo, and there's a second twin tower going up right beside it.
104 per bed, isn't that something?
104
so
per
if you
bed,
have a 4-bedroom, you're 400 and almost 20,000.
Yeah, you're $420,000 per unit. Now this is, I mean, you know, we sold this building. It's a lovely building. I mean, it's fully amenitized. Rents
What
are.
kind of amenities are you talking about?
Well, the entire basement, which is a high basement with lights, is amenitized. There's almost everything you can think of. There's tanning beds there. There's a beautiful gym there. High levels of security when you first come in. Gosh, I'd say that there's 2 floors of amenity space, Paula. The entire ground floor, and the level below, which is a high level basement. Yeah.
Wow.
So you're talking 2 floors
does
of
this one
amenity
have a
space.
pool, Derek?
No. I don't think there's any apartment building or any student housing building in Canada that has a swimming pool, and that's why I asked Mark that question earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this is the one market where we've had a fair bit of construction in Waterloo. We've had about 8,000 beds built. There are 2 large universities within a kilometer of each other, and it's probably the place where we've had more student. Well, there's as much student housing in Waterloo as there is in the rest of the country.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah. So this is interesting land, Paula. Out in Belleville, $129,000 per unit. Right. This is good to sort of condo quality product, but that's a big number out there.
Wow.
Typical kind of townhouses in Cornwall for $90,000 per unit. So that was just a cross section. But the thing that continually amazes me about the apartment sector is the prices that are being paid for the 6-plex, the 7-plex, the 8-plex, and things like that. That almost seems like it's just people wanting to park their money somewhere, and they're not necessarily yield driven. So that concludes really what we want to say today. Thanks very much for joining us. I think the student housing boom is continuing to go, and we're going to really I think on these 2 seminars on the 8th and the 9th, you're going to be getting a lot of information very quickly from people like Mark and Paul, and we've got a total of 23 speakers, a number of them coming from the U.S. and from across Canada. So to register for the sessions, please go to the ROC webpage, and then if you'd like to register for the webinars for the balance of the year, please go to our webpage also. Thanks very much for joining us. We always love your feedback, and after every session we get some people writing us and asking for more information or saying, you know, why don't you do a webinar on this topic, and that's where most of our ideas come from. So Mark, Paula, thanks very much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you guys here in May in Toronto. Thank you.